Today, Professor Nejati, inshallah, will be with us from Saudi Arabia. He will explain. We will first read, inshallah, from 2 pages from the book Mathnabi Nouri, Said Nursi, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The introduction. Nursi, now Imam Nursi says, know that in my 40 years of life and 30 years in pursuing knowledge, 40 years of his life and 30 years in pursuing knowledge, I obtained 4 words and 4 sentences. The details of this will come. Here I am pointing to it in summary. As for the words, they are indicative meaning, nominal meaning, intention, and viewpoint. These are, inshallah, the professor will explain, Dr. Nejati. Those are ma'na harfi, ma'na ismi, niyat, and nazar. These 4 words. Imam Nursi says that's, he learned these 4 words in his 40 years of his life and then 30 years of his education. Indicative meaning, nominal meaning, intention, and viewpoints. What I mean is that looking at other than the one exalted is he has to be with a focus on indicative meaning, and on account of the one exalted is he, and that looking at the cosmos with a focus on the nominal meaning, that is on account of the causes, is a mistake. Everything has 2 faces. One faces the real and the other faces the creation. The regard for the creational face has to be indicatively and as an appellation for the aspect of the nominal meaning that relates to the one exalted is he. For example, a blessing has to be seen as a mirror that reflects the act of blessing. And intermediary instruments and causes have to be seen as mirrors that reflect the disposal of divine power. And as for the viewpoint and intention, they transform the qualities of things and transmute bad deeds into good deeds. Viewpoint and intention, those are 2 other words that Imam Nursi says he learned in his 30 years of his education. Like elixir that turns dirt into gold, intention turns ordinary actions into worship. Intention turns ordinary actions into worship. And viewpoint turns the knowledge of created beings into knowledge of the divine. Viewpoint turns the knowledge of created beings into knowledge of the divine. Thus, indeed, looking on account of the causes and intermediary instruments is augmented ignorance, and looking on account of God is knowledge of the divine. So these are 4 words, and there are 4 expressions, inshallah. I will read them as well. As for the expressions, first, I do not own myself. Inni lestu maliki. Indeed, my owner is the owner of the dominion, the possessor of majesty and munificence. Yet I envisioned myself to be the owner so that I would understand the attributes of my owner by way of comparison. And I understood through what is limited to the concept of the unlimited. Then the morning came and extinguished the imaginary lanterns. Second, death is real. Nursi said, he learned 4 words and 4 expressions. Inshallah, we will study them. The second expression that he learned throughout his life, he says, that death is real. Al-mawtu haqqun. This life and this body cannot be the central poles on which to establish this tremendous world. For they are not eternal, nor they are made of iron or rock. And in fact, they are made of flesh, blood, and bones. A variety of different things come together for a few days and remain posed to separate at any time. How can the affairs of a palace as vast as the world be established on this frail and void foundation and decayed and slack pole? And third expression, my Lord is one. Rabbi Wahid. My Lord is one. For each and every one, felicity of any type is only by submitting to a single Lord. Otherwise, they'll be in need of many conflicting lords to the number of all things in the cosmos. Because as a result of his comprehensiveness, either consciously or unconsciously, a human being needs, attaches to, and feels the pains and the stress of everything. And this is a hellish state. As for knowing a single lord for whose hand of power these supposed lords are but delicate veils, that is a Firdaus-like state in this world. The fourth expression, ana, I, that is a black dot and a unit of measurement. The lines of a conscious art are wrapped around its head, and in them it is witnessed that the owner is closer to him than him. Inshallah. A detailed explanation of these sentences will come in the concluding remark of the first section. Inshallah. Mana harfi. Today, inshallah, we will focus on mana harfi. We will study them. The indicative meaning. It's very interesting, when Nursi, when he talks about, in his tafsir, in his commentary on the Quran, he says the true knowledge is the knowledge if you have this point of view, like when you look beings from the point of view of their creator, manaya harfi and manaya ismi. We think that we know many things as knowledge, but Nursi says the real knowledge, the truth and the reality of things is gained if we have this point of view, this manaya harfi. We have Professor Colin Hojam is here.
Yeah, and before that, I would like to give a short introduction to the program itself, the 3-day retreat. Inshallah, just to give the audience some sort of a sense of what we will be doing, inshallah. So our morning sessions, like this 11 a.m. sessions, Eastern US time, we will be focusing on these lectures from our guest speakers, and inshallah, we will have probably a larger audience. So in that sense, they might not be as interactive, but of course, we always welcome questions through chat, etc. And in the later sessions of the day, again, today and the next 2 days, we will have more interactive sessions um, with a smaller audience on Zoom, but of course, it will be still broadcasted on YouTube. At the same time, there will be focus sessions for sisters and different sessions. Inshallah, they can reach out to sisters um, for details. Otherwise, we will have these sessions that are more in depth and they will be more interactive. So inshallah, if you don't have links or if you have questions, feel free to either email us or chat with us during this session. But again, inshallah, I wanted to, because this is the first day of the retreat, inshallah, I wanted to make it clear how the format will work, inshallah, while we also start on talking the rest of the more deep stuff.
Yes, thank you. Also, feel free to join. We have Brother Turner, Hüsamettin, and others, inshallah.
Okay. So maybe someone can explain what the manai harfi and manai ismi is, because like all of these four words for myself, indicative meaning and nominal meaning, are the two things that are more cryptic to me than the other two. So, for example, we can start by maybe giving a sense of what manai ismi versus manai harfi would mean.
Mm-hmm. This is actually this manai harfi in its original, in Arabic, harf means like when we say at home, right? We say at home. Home is more like manai ismi, ism pronoun, and at, when we say at home, right? At in itself, it doesn't have any meaning. Whatever you want to attribute, it has no meaning. It indicates something. It indicates something else. In itself, it has no meaning. When you say at home, then at has a meaning there, like with the home. And just like that, interestingly, Nursi says, even now we are living in the age of science, and we think that we know everything. We know about stars, cells, our body, and we become like proud of ourselves, of the knowledge. But the things we know is actually just that, at home. They actually attribute something else. If we do not attribute them to their true creator, the things we think we know is actually, they're not knowledge. They actually indicate something else. And I also like the comparison of a mirror, right? When we look at a mirror, we do not, when we look ourselves in the mirror, we do not, directly looking at the mirror, right? When you have a mirror, and if you are looking at the mirror, you see like the dirts on the mirror, actually, right? We just see the mirror. But actually, when we look in the mirror to ourselves, we see something else than the mirror. And this mirror example from Mana Harfi, like this indicative meaning, it indicates something else. And if we are looking at a food, for example, that we are eating, and I'm not even talking about the science and studying the universe and other things, but even when we have dinner or breakfast, and if we are looking at it, and if we do not see the names of Allah, how merciful Allah is, and how much Allah loves us, right? He prepared food for us. And if we cannot read that, if we cannot see that, it means that we are actually looking at the mirror, right? We do not see the reality of the food that we are eating. The food that we are eating should show us, how much Allah cares for us, right? This is mana, this is like studying that, studying it, and with everything, we can have many other examples to that.
Our speaker
here as well.
Our speaker, Dr. Aydin is here as well, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Okay. So I'm sorry for being late. I assume you finished the whole topic, right?
We read it, yeah.
Read it. Good, excellent. Yes. Okay. So we have up to 45 minutes, right? For the rest.
Yes, we have 45, but inshallah we can read a little bit more.
Okay, so let's. So you read it, then we can have some discussion. That's perfect. So first of all, I know that most of participants might have already know those four, and I actually can. At the very beginning, I assume you read the part. Nursi says it took him 30 years of his education, 40 years of his life to come up with those four words and four statements. It's actually not exaggeration. I truly believe in that. I think for me it has been not 40 years, but 4 years, perhaps, I think, if not more. I have been fully engaged with those four words. And I can tell you that I'm not there yet. I'm still learning. So I guess that it's going to take 40 years for me as well to really to comprehend those 4 words and 4 statements. I actually don't believe that what Nursi was saying is an exaggeration. It was a pure fact based on his experience. And I believe that Nursi spent the rest of his life in just practicing and preaching those 4 words and 4 statements. So therefore, I think it's very, very essential that if we can understand them. Obviously, we have 40 minutes rather than 40 years, so it's not going to be sufficient. But we'll do our best, inshallah, try to see how we can help each other to get better understanding. So a few questions I really want to bring for discussion and to have a reflection together. So the very first thing is that what is the wisdom in the sequence of those 4 words? Why it started first with Ma'na Harfi, then go with Ma'na Ismi, then Niyya, then Nazar. It go with this order. And I believe there is a very strong reason behind that. So that's one question I want to, open for discussion a little bit and then see what you think. Then I can tell you what I think that could be the reason behind this order. And that's one. The second, I assume, since you read already the meaning, that what does Ma'na Harfi Ma'na Ismi Nazar Niyya mean? And then we can see how we can relate to each other. How those 4 concepts are related to each other. How can we find a connection between them? That's, I think, the second question. The third question is how can we link those 4 words or 4 concepts to the 4 statements beneath those concepts? That's, that it starts with Arabic expression, and we'll try to see what is the connection between them. And I think there is a very strong connection between them as well. That's really, those are 3 things that I really want to reflect with you. So let's start with the first one. Since you read it, so what do you think, what is the hikmah, the wisdom behind the order of those 4 words that Nursi is covering in this part? First, start with Ma'na Harfi, then Ma'na Ismi. It's not Ma'na Ismi, then Ma'na Harfi. Then go with Niyya, then Nazar. It's not Nazar and Niyya. It doesn't start with Niyya as well. It's really interesting. Well, what do you think and what is that? Can anyone share with us what they think? Do we allow people? Can they unmute themselves if they want to talk?
They can raise their hands, so then we can open them.
Okay. Yeah, it is not a quiz question. It's just an opinion. Anyone who reflect on this want to share with us? I mean, since when you are a teacher or professor, the easy way to handle a course to make student to talk. Okay. So you kind of delegate your job to them and have them to discuss. So that's why I came up with, I said, okay, let's have this question and have them to really let us know what they think. Yes, anyone who wants to share with us what they think?
Hocam, can you repeat the question again, maybe, for everyone?
Yeah, the question is that what is the wisdom behind the sequence of the 4 words, 4 concepts? Why Ma'na Harfi come first, not Ma'na Ismi? Why Niyya come first, not Nazar? What is the hikmah? What is the wisdom behind the sequence of those words, those 4 words? That's the first question. Second, we're going to discuss the connection between them. Third, we'll discuss the connection between those 4 words and the 4 statements beneath them. Yes? No ideas?
I mean, if anything from the other parts of the Risale-i is a sign, sometimes it is the importance of the concepts when the ordering is in a certain order. The first one tends to be more important to grasp So it could be one thing that I can think of.
The importance, yeah, that could be, I think. So mana is more important than mana ismi in this case, therefore it comes first. I think that's, yeah, that's, I think could be one, but actually I thought that could be one, obviously. I thought that it's because the default one is mana harfi. And that what we gain later on is mana ismi. Mana ismi because it's a mistaken approach. That means by default that we are born to actually look at everything's, it's in our futra, that the true way is mana harfi, the mistaken way is mana ismi. So in this case, that Nursi is not really suggesting that there could be two different ways to look at the reality or look at the universe or look at the life and event. He thinks there's only one true way to look at it. That's mana harfi. So mana ismi is mistaken way. And it's very interesting if you look at it, what he says about the mana harfi and mana ismi. He says that, let's see, what is that? It says, everything's to focus. Can we scroll down to those words? Yes, it was yes. See here, and this one says is as for the viewpoint intention, and then it says the viewpoint turn the knowledge of creative being into knowledge of divine does indeed looking on account of the causes and intermediary instrument is augmented ignorance. And that's in Turkish one, it says muzaf jehalet. So what does it mean? I really reflected on this one as well a lot. So what does it mean that when you study the universe in the name of causes, natural laws, and try to understand based on the material composition of them, it will say that no matter how you think you become knowledgeable, it's actually you become, the more you study, the more you become ignorant. Because augmented ignorance means that you are adding layer of ignorance to your existence, ignorance. So why it's that? My guess is that it's if you don't study at all, that you actually know that you don't know anything. Now, when you study in mana ismi, and since mana ismi is a mistaken way, then when you learn in mana ismi, then you think you know, which means that you are ignorant, more ignorant than the ignorant, because you even don't know that you don't know. So that is actually that's augmented ignorance. That means that you are increasing your ignorance. It becomes even more difficult for you because then now you don't really understand. You don't really know. You're not aware of your ignorance. Now let's say I see this a lot when I look at people in let's say in modern times versus the people in the village in the old days. I see that the differences is very strange. Let's say when you will talk with anyone from a village in old time, they will be aware of their ignorance and they will ask some question with the desire to know. But what I observe that with the TV now, and also with phone and internet, they actually think they are very knowledgeable. And so they think that what they learn in the news and this junky information really enlighten them. And when you go and talk to them, they try to enlighten you. They don't, they don't know, but they even don't know they don't know. They think they know, and that make a problem for them to really have the desire, have the, have the urge to seek knowledge. So that's why I think here when he says that if you study the universe in the name of causes, that's essentially, it's the modern scientific approach of studying the universe. He's saying that you actually, your ignorance is increasing. Your ignorance in a sense that everything speaks of the truth. The truth behind everything is basically the names manifested the divine manifested names of God. So in that case, if you're not seeing this truth, and if you're further, let's say, kind of making an obstacle for yourself, of making the veil for yourself to see the divine hand and the manifestation of divine names, that means you are actually adding the layer of ignorance to your ignorance. So that's why I think that is when he starts with Manay Harfi first. So he thinks that Manay Harfi is the way to look at the creation, to look at the life, to look at the events. So because everything has a meaning, everything's are ayah, everything is unfolding, everything is revealing itself to us, telling us certain message from their maker. So in that case, that when we look at through Manay Harfi, we begin to look at everything as a sign, as an ayah, as a meaningful expression, that we can actually, we can learn something. We can learn the message that is revealed to us through them. So therefore, in a sense that, the whole creation is unfolding of the divine manifestation and divine messages. So that when we look at through the Manay Harfi, that we can actually see the meaning as the primary and essential things in everything. Everything become meaningful. Even what you think that as complete nonsense, that can actually still, you can find some even wisdom and hikmah wisdom within them as well. Therefore, Manay Harfi is the default. Manay Ismi is the mistaken approach that we learn through the culture, educational systems, or whatever upbringing, that basically blinding us to the truth, blinding us to the reality. Therefore, in the Nursi's understanding that the problem that we face in modern times, that when we say we have difficulty, like to actually, to have, even to know there is God, or to reach the certainty about God. So Nursi thinks that it's because that we basically look at everything through Manay Ismi, and when we look at through the Manay Ismi, that those signs are covered up. They become, in this case, the signs and the ayah is in this case become hidden to us. We don't see them, we don't read them in this way. Or Nursi will say in the 12th word, in very allegorical example, a story, he will say that even if there's any reading, is a misreading, because the perspective or the language that we use to decode the book of universe is a wrong one, and therefore we don't get the right one. So that's the thing. So in this case, essentially, against the Manay Harfi, as he described it here, is Manay Harfi is essentially is to look in everything as a sign, as other indicative, and then try to see the meaning of those signs. Like when you see the stop sign, obviously you don't look at the color, you don't look at the shape, you don't look at the metals, you don't discuss them. You look at the meaning. And if you're driving car particularly, as soon as you see the stop sign, that means stop, finish. Yeah, and talking about anything else is a complete nonsense, because everything else is a secondary. The primary things that whenever you see the stop sign or you're driving car, there is a message that delivered directly to you. You need to stop now, finish. So similarly, Nursi thinks that everything from Quranic perspective are a sign for us, telling something to us, speaking to us. The whole universe, the whole event, not even the objects, the event as well, that in our personal life, social life, political life, whatever, nothing's out of this book, and everything has our signs and have certain message. So then the key to decode, to read this message, is to learn the Manay Harfi, which means to basically to see the sign, to read in the name of God, which means to connect them to God, to understand that they are the works of God, that through which that God is actually delivering message to us, telling something to us. So in other words, God is speaking to us through trees, through birds, through the skies, through the stars, through the food, through a happy moment in our life, through the sad moment in our life, through the health, through the illness, through everything. So in a sense, the Mane Harfi is to basically having such realization and start to establishing connection with God. And that's the reason that when Nursi define Iman, or belief in God, not as an acceptance or knowledge of the existence of God, he defined as an intisab, which is a connection and communication with God. And therefore, that Nursi will say, when you go and actually pray, then you directly in communication with God to the level that you start to communicate one-to-one, like me and you, that I worship you. It's not I worship God, as like as if he's absent. You're talking about something that absent. You're talking about someone that who is actually with you, who is hearing what you're saying, so that you worship with this level of consciousness or awareness of God. That's what you can gain it through Mane Harfi. Now, that's what I think is that, again, why Niyyah come before Nazar? So again, Mane Harfi and Mane Ismi. Because Mane Harfi is the right one, the default one, Mane Ismi is the mistaken one. And it's learned later on through the culture, through education. Then why Niyyah and Nazar? I think the wisdom behind that, why Niyyah come before Nazar, it's because the Nazar is connected to Niyyah. That what we call in phenomenology, they call intentionality. It's essentially, the idea here is that you see what you intend to see. Your intention is absolutely essential for you to see what you want to see. So in this case, that there are a lot of in psychology, a lot of studies. They clearly shows that that you can be blind to something that you're not looking for. So in this case, Niyyah is very, very important. So Niyyah is directly affecting Nazar. So Nazar here is actually, I don't know how is the Nazar is translated here, because I used to actually look at Nazar differently until I reflect on the Arabic one, that what does Nazar mean? Yeah, viewpoint. See, Nazar is actually not viewpoint. Nazar is not viewpoint. And actually, if you go look at the ayah in Quran in Arabic, like فانظر إلى آثار رحمة الله كيف يحيي الأرض بعد موتها. So فانظر here is it's basically like in Arabic, it's the reflective look on something. So then you're actually looking at something. Fanzur, nazar here is a reflection, is reflective view, is not the viewpoints like a glasses, that now I wear glasses, that I look through glasses. No, it's the reflection, is some things come from against the mind or the heart that you are reflecting. So I will rather prefer to use reflection rather than a viewpoint, or reflective view, that you're trying to look at something and to reflect on them. So in this case, basically your reflection, your nazar, fanzur ila athari rahmatillah, look, reflect, pay attention to the artifact of the All Merciful One. فانظر إلى آثار رحمة الله كيف يحيي الأرض بعد موتها. Now look, then it says how. So it's everything is about reflection, thinking. Now pay attention, look at them, look with the reflective eye. It's not like Nazar, he is like Tara or Yara or era, that's like look with the eyes, that's different. Nazar is, in this case, is not looking with the eyes, is reflecting with the mind. So in this case, that basically intention is essential in terms of what your eyes will bring to you when you reflect on something. So therefore, niyyah come before nazar. And you know, it's very, you know, that's one experiment they did it in psychology, very famous. It's they're play, and the two groups is playing, and you're asked to count, you know, how many times they are passing the ball for one team, and you focus on, you know, the team members and count the ball. And then in between the whole, you know, a person with a costume of gorilla will come and actually, you know, for like a few, several, I think it's like 10, 15, or 20, 30 seconds, will play and have do show off. But then after that, when they ask you, did you see any gorilla, anyone in the costume of gorilla, that they will, almost 50% of them will say no, they didn't see anything. So that's like a very elegant example of that you will miss, you know, something big, even that when you focus on something only, that let's say you're focusing on passing the ball, and you don't see, even if let's say a gorilla comes down, you don't see that, so you become blind to the other. So that basically is an example of how selective we become, our mind become, in terms of what we really bring to our attention, to our consciousness. So therefore, I think that niyyah come before nazar. So if your niyyah or your intention is not to see, your attention will not be directed towards what you're supposed to see. So therefore, you need to work on your intention first to actually get your attention to what you want to see. So, and that's the reason niyyah, innama al-amalu bin-niyyah, is extremely important. So if, let's say, if you don't really want to believe, if you made your mind and decide that, you know, I don't want to, you know, I don't really want to believe in God, and, you know, it's going to bring me all burden, trouble, and, you know, and you're absolutely determined to reject. So your job will become more difficult, because then now you will have selection bias, that basically your brain or your mind will only select the things that you want to see. So therefore, I think that's the reason he will, you know, Nursi will focus first on niyyah, will say, you know, you need to first to work on your niyyah, to purify your niyyah, your intention, and that with this, that now you can actually, you can pay attention to those ayah in the universe. So now you can see that essentially we can boil down those 4 words to the 3 concepts. He is actually, so we can see the connection, is I see the connection in this way. Essentially, your reflection, your nazar, can be in 2 ways. Either you look at everything through ma'nai harfi nazar, or through ma'nai ismi nazar. And then you have niyyah. So in this case, we can actually, if we combine them, we can say you have niyyah, and then you have nazar. Your niyyah, in this case, your nazar could be ma'nai harfi nazar, or could be ma'nai ismi nazar. In other words, but then you will say that essentially is ma'nai ismi nazar. If you look at in the name of causes, chance, natural, let's say laws, you'll say that's mistaken, why you cannot see and read the ayah. The meaning, the truth in the universe. So, and therefore, the essential part is to work on your, first of all, to gain the right perspective. That's, I call it in a way that basically, ma'nai harfi ma'nai ismi is like, you can say it's a glasses, perhaps, that you can wear these glasses. The ma'nai harfi glasses is actually, it's transparent glasses. It can show you everything as they are and what they mean to you. But ma'nai ismi is actually, it's let's say a dark glasses. Then you wear it that you don't really see, it's blacken your eyes, it prevents you to see anything. So therefore, when you reflect on the creation through ma'nai ismi, it's actually blind you to the reality, to the truth of those meaning reflected within them. But if you look at through the Mana Harfi, it's transparent. It can actually help you, or it can help you to directly see that. That's what I think that is how we can connect them. So again, the order is that Mana Harfi is the default, Mana Ismi is the mistaken approach, and Niya come first. The intention is essential for the attention or reflective viewpoint or reflection on the creation. That the reflection could be in the Ma'nai Harfi or could be in the Ma'nai Ismi. So in the Ma'nai Harfi means that you look at the creation in the name of God. Iqra bi ismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. So you read the creation in the name of God. So that is the Ma'nai Harfi. And actually, I think that's this very first ayah that revealed in Surah Al-Alaq is a perfect definition of Ma'nai Harfi. And we are invited from the very beginning to look at everything in the name of God. Iqra, to read everything. Bismi Rabbika Khalaq. So to look the creation and the work of Creator in his name. That is what I think is Ma'nai Harfi. And that's what is the connection between them. Any questions or comment on this part before we move to the other question, the third one? Any questions, comments? Okay, now let's see that the third questions. Again, the first question was that what is the wisdom behind the order? The second question, that how they're connected to each other. The third question, how those four words are connected to the four statements. Now let's see the statement. Can we go down the statement? So the very first one, yes, the first one, Ini lastu maliki. I do not own myself. And the second one is al-mawtul haq. The second one. The third one, Rabbi wahid. And the fourth one is ana. Okay, so let's try to see what is the connection. How can anyone tell us that? How did you connect those four statements with the four concepts of Ma'nai Harfi, Ma'nai Ismi, Niyya, and Nazar? Can anyone share with us what is? Did you think about the connection? Did you discover any connection between them? Can you share with us, please? Yes. Again, that is no. I don't know. So unless we reach the author, we cannot know the absolute answer to that one. But this is all just our understanding. So I will share with you what I think, which might be correct or might not be. It's just what I understand. So therefore, I just want to see what you think. What is your views on that one? So don't be afraid that you might be wrong, because I don't know the correct answer for sure. I will tell you what I think. So, but before that, I want to hear from you what you think. Yes, anyone who wants to guess, share with us what the connection between those four statements and the four concepts, which comes right after those four concepts.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So, yeah, the indicative meaning, the Ma'nai Harfi, I think maybe connected with all of them. Mm-hmm. For example, I do not own myself, so I am showing another person's point, the qualities, the attributes. So what I own as power, as knowledge, any other attributes, so it is belonging to my creator. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe it is also indicating my Lord is one. So indicative meaning, Ma'nai Harfi is also alluding to the creator is one. Yes. Yeah, and the first and the last expression, more or less, yeah, it looks similar. So it is also showing the indicative meaning. It's yeah, everything is a measure for the attributes of Allah Almighty. Yes.
So you think almost all of them is related to Ma'na Harfi, indicative meaning?
Yeah.
Is there anything you connected to Niyyah?
Yeah, with our intentions. Yeah, with our intentions. Yeah, these are also become connected with Ma'na Harfi also. Maybe with our intention, I can connect myself with the creator. So I don't owe myself. Yeah, I'm showing my creator's attributes. Yeah, with this intention, yes, I am intending Allah Almighty. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. I think like I somehow think they're really connected to those. Not only one of them. Like al-mabtul haqq. That is real. That I am mortal. That is actually very, very essential for ikhlas. That is niyyah. That actually means that to purify our niyyah, to gain ikhlas, that we really need to understand our mortality. So in a sense, if we know this is our last day, not last day of the year 2020, last day of our life, that for sure we will look at everything in a different way. For sure we will think of akhirah before thinking of the dunya. So for that reason, I think that the remembrance of death, or be conscious of your own mortality, is essential for niyyah, is essential for purifying niyyah, for ikhlas, to give up any show-off. You know, if we're all gonna die tomorrow, why should I care about what you think about it? And when I talk, I will only care about what Allah will think about what I will discuss today. So in a sense that to actually overcome the trick of ego and aniyah, is that somehow we need to remind ourselves that we are mortal. We need to be aware that any actually day and any moment could be our very last day or last moment. Even if it's not, that if we think rationally, that what we expect to have 30, 40, 50 years, if we reflect on the past life, we'll see is actually in reality is no different than having 30, 40 seconds as your total life. If that is the case, then it doesn't matter whether we're gonna live 30 years more, 50 years more, 60 years more. Once it's over, we will for sure realize it's like a second passing extremely fast. Now, and in this case, if we are aware of this fleeting, fast-moving time, then we will feel our mortality to just, you know, some unavoidable event waiting for us next moment or next hour. So in that, the more we gain such consciousness and awareness of this reality, then the more we will have ikhlas or purity on our intention. Because, you know, when Nursi says that basically the ruh, the soul of your amal is niyyah. The soul of your deed is intention. But the soul of your intention is ikhlas, is sincerity. So in that case, it's basically niyyah is extremely important, because it is the niyyah that basically determining everything. Because without soul, the body has no value. So in that case, that it's very important to purify the niyyah. And that's the reason I think that he mentioned this the statement right after that is very much connected. Now, how about the other? How about the other three? How they're connected to the other concepts? Any other suggestion? Anyone else who wants to share with us what they think? The connection, again, we're looking at the connection between 4 Arabic statements and the 4 concepts of Ma'nai Harfi, Ma'nai Ismi, Niyyah, and Nazar. So the very first one, yes, Danny, wanna go ahead? Yes, you can. I saw your hand, Danny. You can go ahead, please.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity. So I would like to connect the point number 3, which is God is one with Maknawi Harfi. So I think this is very important for me because we learn about science since childhood and we see that the physics, the law of mathematics, and everything else is just as it is, as matters of things. So we look at it on the Maknawi Ismi, but actually, Pak Mursi in this session told us that we need to uplift our point of view into the Maknawi Harfi. So we know that all of the science actually is the law created by God. So God is one. All of this similarity of the law of the universe is actually under one kudroh, under one power, which is God. So I think the God is one, actually for me, is closely related to the Maknawi Harfi, from my point of view.
Very good. I agree. I think that Ma'nai Harfi is all about removing the veil of multiplicity and see the unity and oneness of the divine power behind everything. So in this case, when we say Rabbi Wahid, it means that that's the one that who feed me, who give me the air, who take care of me, who take care of the universe, is the only one God. So Rabbi Wahid means that it's not the trees, is not animals, is not the seas, is not the lands that giving what I need. They are just the veil. Behind them, it is the divine hands or divine power working and giving everything that I want or I need. So Rabbi Wahid is essentially removing the veil of causation, removing the veil of multiplicity, and seeing the unity and the divine power behind everything. That is, I think, is what the Ma'nai Harfi is helping us to accomplish. So once we look at through Ma'nai Harfi, which means once we employ the Ma'nai Harfi Nazar, which means we reflect in the Ma'nai Harfi, then we can actually see the divine power within everything. And we feel that we are in his presence. That is basically that's the purpose that we are aiming to accomplish through Ma'nai Harfi. And I think therefore that's the, but let's, Merfar, can you move a little bit up, look at the very first statement. That's also, I think it's very, very essential. And I think the reason that he put it very first one, I do not own myself. It seems like this is absolute essential, and it has to go first, it seems like, because if we do not understand the statement, that it will become very difficult for us to actually move from Ma'nai Ismi to Ma'nai Harfi, because that is the statement that unlock Ana and show us, make us to know our true nature. And in terms of looking at ourselves in Ma'nai Harfi, meaning being aware and conscious of our own existence, and saying, you know, I don't own myself. Now, I look at this one, it's like, you know, Nursi used this one, is the Turkish one, it says, temellük iddiası, temellük davası. It's basically, particularly with capitalism, when you look at the life journey of people, it's all about ownership, accumulation, owning something, having something. So, which means like, you know, I own a house, I own car, I own position, I own this and this. And of course, I own my body. It's my body, it's my life. Now here, when we realize that, no, I do not own myself, it means that, you know, the owner of everything and the owner of, first of all, my own body is not me. So which means I do not own my, let's say, tongue, therefore I can't speak. Only with divine power that I can actually express myself. I do not own my hands, therefore I cannot move. It's not mine. It's only the divine power at my will that moving my hands. So once I realize that I'm absolutely powerless, that's Nursi is called ajz mutlak. That means I have no power, that obviously it comes fakr mutlak. That means I'm absolutely, I'm in absolute poverty because I don't have power to gain anything. That means I own nothing. I cannot even own my own self. I cannot claim that I own my own speech. I cannot claim that I own my own, let's say, act when I feed myself, when I actually, you know, move my arm, when I walk. So in this case, if I give up the claim of ownership on myself and my act first and realize that it is God acting within me, is the power of God working within me, that is in this case become absolute essential to understand how God is working in everything else. So the way I realize that this understanding is the key to unlock Ana. So in this case, Ana is actually, if we read it in Nursi's other piece in 30th word, it is a kind of mysterious key that to unlock it, first you need to understand yourself, which means you need to understand that you are absolutely impotent and you're absolutely needy, which means that you don't own anything. Nothing is yours. And the claim of owning, you know, this and this, everything is amana for you. Everything is ni'mah for you. Everything is granted to you for uses. You can't own that. So therefore, the claim of ownership that Nursi mentioned is really, that is one of a great mistake, that when we think about the life, I come here, now I'm gonna own this and this, have this and this, will say, no, this is not the place that you can own anything. You cannot even own yourself. So try to see how you can actually drive the meaning and the message. You're not here to possess anything. So everything's belong to God. Therefore, lahul mulku, or malikul mulk, means everything belongs to him. And in this case, that's very first statement to understand, to in Nursi's term, is to give up your tamalluk claim of ownership, is the absolute necessary steps to understand your true nature, and then to basically, in this case, to be able to utilize Ana in a proper way to read the creation. So therefore, I see this part is very much related to Mana Ismi, because if you do not understand that, then it's hard to really go for Mana Ismi. So, and you reflect on that, you understand yourself, that now that become the key, you get the keys actually to overcome Mana Ismi and look at the things in Mana Harfi. So that is real, that's for intention. My Lord is one, that's Mana Harfi. And ana has both sides. Ana is both related to ma'na harfi and ma'na ismi. So because you can, ana has the two dimension. You can use ana in ma'na ismi, or you can use ana in ma'na harfi. Therefore, it's related to all four words or concept above. That's what I think, that's the reason it comes right after that. Okay, let's see. There's one comment. If we do good reflecting, looking at nadar for everything around us will lead to the four sentences. Yes, that is, if we look nadar. So I kind of see there are actually work in both ways. If you do good nazar, you might see them, but also if you have those four statements, they will help you to look at through the ma'na harfi nazar as well. So in other words, if you really become aware of your mortality, then now your niyyah will purify, you will gain more ikhlas. Then when you gain ikhlas, purification your niyyah, then now your nazar will take you towards something that has a permanent meaning for you, that you will disregard anything that is transient, that is basically become meaningless for you. So you see that how it can actually affect your niyyah and how it can affect your nazar. Yes, I agree, it can work in both ways, that if you can gain that ma'na harfi nazar, then you might see those four things that mention that. But I think that those four things somehow is connected to those four concepts. So I will say, so that's why it's like, in a sense, those are the essence. Those are the steps that you need to go through to actually gain the ma'na harfi nazar with the purified niyyah. That is what I think we can, that what I will connect. Allahu A'lam. Okay, any, I thought there was hands, I don't know. Brother Jesni, was it you?
Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Aydiner. I was intending to ask this question. The fourth phrase is involving the first phrase. Ana is involving, I don't own myself. What may be the wisdom behind it, mentioning the first, I don't own myself, and at the end, mentioning ana, although ana is including, yes, I don't own myself, I don't own my power or knowledge and so on.
But I think the last ana, if you look at it, is the ana that is purified, that you use as a wahid qiyasi, is not ananiya. So in that case, ana become, Nursi, in other places, if you remember, he used ana as a eyes through which you look at the reality. Because you see everything through ana, but with the condition that you first understand the essence of ana, which means you unlock the ana. You realize the essence of ana is actually, is essentially adz mutlaq and faqr mutlaq. Then ana is just there for you as to understand Allah, to use as a measure to understand Allah. Therefore, I see the fourth ana at the very end is ana in a righteous way, not ana in the wrong way of dalala. So ana in a righteous way, ana become eyes through which you see the reality. Because you need to use ana that you can only understand through ana. But that ana has to have a good intention. That ana has to be used through the ma'na harfi. So which means you have to look at ana first, understand yourself. And if you remember that hadith of man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. So once you understand yourself, then you can now look at through your own self and understands everything and understand Allah. That's the reason I think that come forth, because here he's not talking about ana for both sides. He's talking about ana that is basically used as a wahid qiyasi, which means used as a glass, or I think Nursi used in other places as the eyes through which you see the truth, through which to see the reality. So that's why I think he put it in the fourth one. But the reason he put the first one, inni lasti maliki, is because that is absolute essential, the starting point. That if we don't get this point, forget about the rest. That if you don't really understand that who is working within you, if you claim that you own yourself, then Nursi will say, even if you actually claim that you have a slight ownership on some things on your, from your side, then he says you will start to give the same partnership to the causes, to the nature as well. So, and therefore, in other places, Nursi will say, this is extremely important to completely give up this claim, to say, Ana lasti maliki. I don't own myself. I don't own anything. It's not me. It is God is actually working through me. So that is, in this case, understanding that basically your impotence, absolute impotence, and faqr mutlaq, your poverty, absolute poverty, it is essential. And if we remember in Surah Al-Alaq, the key part that it seems like make people to astray in that ayah, it says, istighna mustaghni, when you feel that you are self-sufficient, then you actually become rebellious to God. So to understand that you are absolutely dependent on Him for everything, every moment, that you do not own anything, everything belongs to Him, that's when you fully submit to Him. Then when you become a true Muslims, that basically Muslims means submission to the divine power. That's what I think that is really, this phrase is the key, is the necessary first step, that to internalize, to really understand, feel it. And then once we internalize that, truly understand that I think that Nursi will say, the only thing that you can claim ownership is your mistakes, is your shortcoming, is your faults, is your sin. But the interesting part is that ananiya, or ego, does not claim ownership for them. And it actually says, that's not from me. This is from you, from others. So, and the ego claim ownership over all good things. It's, I gave a great lecture. I did a great work. This is, so that's basically claiming and ownership. Nursi says that in a sense that you make your own self to be worthy of praise, and use your own tongue to praise yourself rather than praising God. That in reality that you're created to be aware of everything's from God and praise God, but you start to think that it's from you, and you praise yourself, and you ask everyone to praise you. That is, it's very, very dangerous situation, according to Nursi. Let me see. Yeah. So Brother Mustafa is reminding you if you have any question. Yeah, I think we approach to the end. Obviously, if you have any questions or comments or objection, feel free to really share with us, because those days I tend to think that the different views, could be more enriching than affirmative views. So therefore, if you think differently, I think that will really be enriching. Feel free to share with us, inshallah. Yes, any comments or questions or objection? No.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We have Brother Harun and Danny. They want to ask or comment.
Okay.
Harun.
Yes, Brother Danny.
Assalamualaikum, Necati Hocam. I hope you are doing well. It's good to see you in this environment as well.
Alaikum salam. We really miss you.
Yeah, I missed you too. It's good that I just saw you with this excellent presentation. During your presentation.
But we just say that we're not supposed to pray. Now you're praising. Isn't goes against the presentation? All praise due to Allah, right?
Yes, you know, there's a hadith, if I can't praise you, if I can't thank you, I cannot thank or praise Allah. So that's, we should praise everything that we see good. That's how I understand it.
Actually, Nurshi says you need to make dua for each other.
Right, right.
He said you need to congratulate each other and make dua for each other.
Right,
because
that's my intention.
That's the danger. Otherwise, your ego, your ana, might claim ownership. Wow, did I really give a great presentation tonight?
Yeah, that's on your side. You know, I'm relaxed on this. Praising you.
Okay, please go ahead. Yes.
The thing is, thank you. It's wonderful. In the first place, I think I have a new catch on reflection, because in my point of view, Nazar was closer to the point of view. But with your remark, with attaching it to the Quranic concept, I think it's more explanatory to me. The way I perceive all of these, actually, I'm saying that actually Nursi learned one thing in his life. So I perceive all these 4 words and 4 statements as a whole. I can't distinguish. Although I welcome all your explanations and they are very linked to each other, maybe my view is very simplistic. I take it as one. I mean, if he talked about mana ismi without mentioning other concepts, but explaining what mana ismi is, I would understand al-mevte hakkun, I would understand Rabbi Wahid, I would understand everything else.
You mean mana harfi, I assume?
Even any of them, I can pick.
No. I think you meant mana harfi, not mana ismi.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I said mana.
You said mana ismi. You said mana ismi.
Sorry,
that's what I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay. But even I'm saying, you know, our dialect, our thinking just thinks the opposite. I mean, even if you say mana ismi, I will get it as mana harfi as well. Right. As long as you explain what mana ismi is, I'm going to take my position, you know. Okay. Even if you explain intention, I'm going to understand all the concepts around. Anyhow, let me come to my question, since it's getting late. You know, I love this concept of God of the gaps, and I'm thinking of this concept. I think it is very well articulated, and there's a huge literature on it. And the scholars are really thinking very carefully about this concept, and I think it is particularly has a nice place in Said Nursi's arguments. So with this dialect that you told us, how can we position God of the gaps? You know, we see a lot of Muslims in a position of preaching, like because of the language, a wise person is talking about something wise, but let's say a Muslim is popping up and he's saying that, oh, come on, that's neglection, you know, that's not acceptable. Allah created this. So this statement becomes a shortcut, you know, it doesn't fill, even it doesn't satisfy the heart, yet it doesn't satisfy the mind. So, you know, with this God of the gaps concept, maybe you can also attach this tahkiki iman and taklidi iman, imitative belief, and, you know, the strong belief, whatever. How can we reconcile with these concepts? Because I believe Nursi doesn't mention that try to explain everything with Allah. This is kind of deeper in us. We reflect upon whatever knowledge comes to our world. We get closer to Allah, we feel closer. But this is something very inner and deep in us. But otherwise, I don't know if I could articulate my question well.
Yeah, but by God of gap, what do you mean exactly?
God of the gaps,
the gap that, as they say, when you cannot explain anything, that you ascribe
right,
to God.
When you can't explain anything, you say that God created this, God did that, you know.
So you think that is a good way to know about God? That's what you're saying?
No, on the contrary, I'm saying
exactly. That's why I think what I say that's why I say this. Mane harfi is to think God as God of everything. Every moment. So in that case, you know, if we want to have really, phrase to somehow relate to God of gap, we say that's really we need to give up this concept to. We need to think God as God of everything. So if we can actually see in that way, I think that means we are looking through Ma'na Harfi. So that's Ma'na Harfi Nazar. That's what I see is really, in that case, it's not like you see an extraordinary event, you know. You see, I remember once we were in Mecca, my kids look at above the Kaaba and say, you know, the cloud is actually like, it seems like it's written like Allah. And they were like excited. I said, you know what? I don't really know whether it exactly look like a word Allah, but I can tell you the cloud itself is actually says Allah, you know. So the essential part is to look at the cloud in the Ma'na Harfi and to see this is as a statement, an ayah as actually speakings of Allah. And in this case, you don't have to look at the shape and say, you know, I saw and now take the picture, is an amazing thing. No, because the cloud itself, if you reflect on it, if you have a Ma'na Harfi Nazar, it indeed does speaks to you about Allah in many different ways, not just Allah. You tell you other names as well. It says, you know, He's Al-Hakim, He's Al-Alim, He's Al-Rahim, He's Al-Qadir. So it will tell you other names as well. But you need to, in this case, therefore I think it's Ma'na Harfi is basically a way to see God as God of everything. That's what I will connect.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. I hope to see you sometime.
Inshallah soon. Yes, Brother Danny.
Okay, so I would like to put a bit comment on the first statement of the I do not own myself. So it means that we are powerless. All of capitals, our capitals is belong to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala only, and we can only claim our mistake. Yeah. So we can interpret this statement in two ways. Yeah. The first is the negativity. The second one is the positivity. In the negativity, it tends we would like to think that everything has been planned by God. So whatever we do our best, however we do, it will not change the result that God has planned on us. So it leads to a bit slightly Jabariyah here. So that's a problem in many Muslim countries, including mine. So there's a verse in the Kitab Al-Hikam by Imam Ibnu Athaillah Al-Iskandari stating that no matter how hard you try, God has planned the result, so you cannot change the result. So the mindset of we just need to increase our surrender, our tawakal, and we do minimum effort, but the result is belong to God. So that's happened in many Muslim countries, the Jabariyah state of mind. So the second one is we can interpret this to the positivity. We can say that, yes, I am powerless, but God has planted that power, that capital on me, so I can use that power, that capital to reach my goal, to reach my career, to complete my project in perfect ways, and in so many ways for positive things, yes, so for productive things. So is it okay for us to think in the positivity way? So yes, I am powerless, but actually God has planted that power, has planted that abundance on me. So I will utilize this to achieve my goal, to achieve my career, and to complete my project in a perfect way. So maybe that's my questions. Yeah, I need enlightenment on this one.
Very good, very good. Actually, yeah, there's most of the time I reflect that people can take it this way. I think that is when you realize you're powerless, you give up your power, but actually you rely on infinite power. That's the true, real power. So therefore, it's not when you feel you're powerless, then you are, you are not motivated, like you feel self-motivation. You need to rely on yourself. You need to believe in your power, believe in yourself. I think those are believing in yourself, believing in your power. It is Ma'na Ismi. Believe in God and believe in God's power and rely in God's power. That's tawakkul and iman and tawakkul. That is Ma'na Harfi. And having that is actually, Nursi will say that you gain, once you rely on the infinite power, you can challenge the entire world. If they, let's say, stand in front of you when you try to accomplish certain goal in life, which means you have infinite power behind you. You're connected to the infinite power. That means you're not scared. You are not hopeless. You are not helpless. You have absolutely infinite power supporting you from moment to moment. That the degree of the connection that you feel, the degree of the power that you will have, and you'll feel you're empowered toward your goal. So therefore, I think that doesn't mean that now you feel, you don't have any power, you're not motivated, you cannot, trust your own self. No, I mean, you'll be, let's say you want to do something and you set certain goal to accomplish certain things. You can be way more motivated because you rely on the infinite power. So that's I think that's what they will say. I think, is it Konin Hocam? Are you in audience? I saw a message from you. Please, I know you are a real expert in this subject, so I really want to have a closing statement from you. And it seems like you post a message to just for clarification. I would really be glad to hear from you what you think on those concepts and the statements. Colin Hocam? No, I don't know. Maybe his mic is not working. Yeah, let me in this case read his comments. He said there's one that says, if anybody says that I do not love myself, I will not take care of my body. But if you know that the body is not yours, you should treat it with respect. It is not yours to ignore. Mana is a necessary fiction. It is inescapable, but we should not remain in that position. Inescapable. Okay. Is mana is me is a necessary fiction. Okay. Yeah. So that's I think it's interesting that which I think Nursi will say that there are two aspects of everything. That you look at what it says that that when you look at daire itikat and daire lesbab, that means that you need to know that in terms of this divine setting in the universe, that you're obliged to follow the established system in terms of fulfilling your, let's say, fi'li dua or the task. But meanwhile, you should know that the actual power behind this is the divine power. So Nursi will say you should not mix them up. So in a sense that, yes, I know it's God taking care of my body, but I also know that God is actually wants me to go and to cook food and to eat. So I will go and do those. I cannot just say God taking care of me, therefore I just sit down and my food's gonna come. I don't look, because the established rule is the mechanism in which that God is actually manifesting himself. So I have to, that's called Shariat Tekwiniya, is like the rules that God has in terms of his established systems in creation here. So I have to obey those rules, following them. So, and Prophet peace be upon him fully believe that Allah is in control of everything, but he will actually work, he will cook his food, he will eat, when he will go to the war, he knows that Allah is protecting, he will actually make sure that he will have a protective shield, and against the arrow come from the enemies. So he didn't say, Allah is protecting me, therefore I shouldn't do anything. Why? Because he knows that Allah has certain established rules that you have to live your life within those rules. That I think that's the two different things that daire itikat, daire esbab. So we should not confuse with each other. Otherwise, it will be a problem for us. That's things. I think so. That's all right. I don't see any hands or any questions.
I have
Yes.
a question, if you can.
Yes.
It relates to what Kanabi has said, that mana is me is a necessary fiction. And as it relates to qadr and irada, that is our niyyah, the intentions that we have, sort of our partial will, is that part of that necessary fiction. So how do we look at the concept of I do not own myself? Through that concept, how do we understand our own niyyah? And when we say our own niyyah, I mean, that is, say, looking through the mana is me, right?
I see. Again, I think when you look at the other places, Nursi will say that in the Nia, there are male, which means inclination. That inclination part is actually, that's the only things that is given to you that you claim ownership, because that's what makes you to be accountable. So in that case, that is if you do not have any ownership on your Nia as well, then you will say it's Allah is shaping my Nia, is eventually it's not me, and I'm like a robot and programmed to do certain way. I think Nursi will give the, based on the other previous scholars, they will say that the inclination in exercising your Nia is given to you, it's your choice in this regard, but that choice against, how much of it's created, how much is really from you, but this, they use meili tasarruf, which like, it's in a sense that you're given certain options, but you just point to the one that you choose. So that's pointing, let's say, with your even body language, whatever you call it, that is, in this case, it's something that is given to you, that you have power over that one if you claim any power. Beside that, like let's say now, I think what I understand from Colin Abbas things is this. It's like, I feel mana is me this way now. I have the hands, and actually I'm moving my hands now, and actually I go and let's say make my coffee and drink it. So this is, in reality, is not me. But why I feel it's me going, preparing coffee, and acting, moving. So the way that we call necessary fiction, in the sense that if I don't have such feeling, I will not understand Allah. I will not know that, his name of Alim and Hakim and Qadir and Razaq. So I somehow, in a sense that they have to have this fictitious ana, that's in a sense that make me to feel as if I am the owner, I am the doer, I am the one that basically, building the house, cooking the foods, giving the talk. So, and I know when I go through this experience, I know what it takes to do that. I know, I need to have conscience, I need to have an intention, I need to have a certain power, so I need to prepare for that. So that is basically, that is what is, in this case, what is needed for me to understand Allah in this regard. And therefore, I think,
So would you say that our Nia is more appropriately termed as we have usership over it rather than ownership?
Oh, maybe, yeah. I think this one Nursi says is kasp. Exactly. I think that's what he says, kasp. Kasp is yes, exactly. That's what he says. Kasp is not khalq. That's you don't create, you don't, but you kasp, which means, so in a sense that that you don't create that act, but you in that case the niyyah is somehow is a given minimum ability for you to make a choice. That's what I think.
Barakallahu feek.
Okay, thank you very much. Shukran. Okay. I think Colin Abbey had messaged that his mic is not working. Otherwise, I really want to hear from him. I know that his, we call Blue Book, is really amazing. So mashallah, now is in hundreds of libraries as well. I think that he has an excellent, I remember very first English translation of Mana, Harfi Mana Ismi, other indicative that I learned from that book and his writing. So we really appreciate that. Okay. Okay.
He will talk as well, inshallah, in this 3-day reading program. Colin Turner, inshallah, will have
January 2nd.
Yeah, he'll give a lecture.
Inshallah, excellent. Inshallah, we will look forward to have that. Okay, can we? I think we're done, right? We can, yes. We can end it here. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and inshallah, may Allah help us to understand these 4 words. Not 4 only, not many, but it took 40 years for Nursi. I think it's worth to spend some maybe at this, 4 hours or 40 hours, if not days and years. Inshallah, we can read and reflect and have better understanding. Okay. So have a great, happy and a new year with full of wisdom.